Welcome to Whispers to a Bride, where we talk about the stuff no one else is talking about. We are going deep on the emotional aspects of getting married, the stress, drama, and turbulence that affects your own sense of identity and your closest relationships. We are talking about what it means to be a bride and how to navigate this sacred time with more grace and ease. I'm your host, Kara Gassabay. As a life coach and therapist, I'm going to be sharing super practical tips so that you can not only rise to the occasion of your wedding, but also your life. Hello, and welcome back. I am so happy to be here with you today to just take a minute and talk about Bridesmaid Drama. I know a lot of my work as a bridal coach is to help you deal with the emotional experience of being a bride. And it's often a lot harder than we thought it was going to be. And a lot of that has to do with the friendship stuff that goes on, especially just female friendships around weddings. It goes a little bonkers a lot of the time. So I just want to remind you that you are not alone. And today I just kind of want to go into that sort of superficial part of it, right? And then next week, I think we'll go a little deeper into what's going on with a lot of the friendships, but just the concept of like, okay, you're engaged, you're planning a wedding, and we got to pick bridesmaids. Just that right there, it just brings up a lot of stuff. I just kind of wanted to talk through that so that if it's not as fun as you thought it was going to be, and it's causing you just a lot of stress and overwhelm and confusion and conflict and drama, for lack of a better word, I just want to sort of pick it apart a little bit, normalize it, and think about different angles in which you can approach it to like bring it down back into that fun celebratory mode that you're going for. I think there's a lot of content out there that's telling you how to make these perfect proposal boxes, like, will you be my bridesmaid? Like over the top, really cute, fabulous stuff. And I am all for that. But first, I think we got to just get like real clear about what's going on with who you're asking, why you're asking them, what exactly you're asking them. And that's the stuff I think we forget about, right? Like when we're putting together these beautiful, sentimental ways to ask someone to be in our wedding, we can sometimes really skip over just doing a little bit of introspection, planning, just mindful intention setting around like, okay, what is really going on here when I'm asking these women or men, whomever, to walk this part of the journey with me, right? To sort of be my crew from here through the wedding day in this really special, specific way. Why am I doing that? What do I want from them? What's expected of them? And then sort of proceeding from there. When you skip over this part and you just get right into the like, oh my gosh, I want to plan a trip and I want to like have these cute proposal boxes with the glitter falling out and like I want them to be so happy to share in my happiness. Sometimes we can skip right to that part and we forget this other stuff that can really help us avoid so many issues. So I just want to talk about one of the biggest issues that comes up real quick and right away when we get into the whole wedding party thing is the expectations and just the mismatch of expectations. I think sometimes we all assume we're on the same page, right? Because we were all at, Lauren's wedding last year and we remember what we did for her. So like, we'll do the exact same thing for you. Or we think that what we just saw in the movies or what we're all seeing on TikTok is the norm. Like whatever you have in your mind might not be what your friend has in their mind. And that is so important to remember. It's these expectations just being all over the map are just at the heart of so much angst and conflict and disappointment and miscommunication. And so I think it's really important to just sort of think through like, okay, if I'm asking these people to be in my wedding, what am I really asking of them? And kind of also think about time, money, enthusiasm, right? There's so much that we don't realize we want from a person until we stop and really think about it. Like, do we want them helping us with every little decision? Do we want them texting us every day, asking us what's going on? Do we want to talk to them ad nauseum about our wedding? Or do we just want them to show up looking good in this dress? Do we want them to be planning like surprise bachelorette trips and showers? Do we want them hiring hair and makeup and buying expensive dresses? And like, what are we wanting, right? And what are we expecting and what's realistic? And I think that it's so important to start with like who we are and what our wedding is about and what do we want to happen. But then also like, who are we dealing with? Who are our friends? Who matters to us? And where are they in their lives? And what makes sense for them? Time-wise, energy-wise, money-wise. And how can we just make this as natural and organic and fun as it can be? I think one of the biggest issues I see is when we just try to jam our friends into this other narrative that has been laid out either in our own imagination, by movies we've watched, by watching other people on social media and what they're doing. And it can just get really sticky when you realize like we're dealing with real people who have real limitations and other competing priorities, not just our wedding. And I think that is just kind of getting everybody on the same page expectation wise and being as flexible and open and fluid as you can be as the bride will go such a long way in saving your sanity and preserving your friendships. I think it's also important to think about like, it's okay, right? If maybe everyone can't participate, or how do you want to handle it if someone declines being in your bridal party? Are you making that mean something that it doesn't really mean? Maybe someone's excusing themselves because they know like, wow, they're about to have a baby and they really just know they can't be there for you in the way that you expect. And so they think it's like a gesture of kindness to step back, but then are you interpreting that as like they're just discarding your friendship? Or, right, you can see how it's so easy for what feels like a kind gesture to the recipient, it might feel like really harsh and really unsupportive when the intention was the exact opposite. And so I think it's just so important when you're reaching out to these bridesmaids or these friends that you want to take on this role of bridesmaid to just be really mindful of who they are, what they are capable of, what makes sense for them, and how to join your wishes and desires with the reality of who they are and where they are in their life so that it doesn't just become a whole setup. Let's not set everybody up for failure, right? And for hurt feeling. I think so much of what happens with weddings and bridal parties, it's just a massive setup for everyone. And then everyone's upset and everyone's hurt and like, we could have avoided this if we had been just a little more thoughtful and a little more protective of our friends and what they're going through. And also a little bit more clear and honest and clean and thoughtful and intentional about the experience we wanted to have, what we were bringing them into, what we were asking of them, what we expected of them, what was realistic, what was just influenced by social media. And right? Just getting really clear and getting really honest with yourself and with your friends is like the number one thing to do when you are going to bring someone into a bridesmaid experience. And the other thing I want you to think about is there's like often this underlying thing in the bridesmaid transaction, if you will, that I think is so important to kind of lean into and get a sense of. There's this idea of being in someone's wedding party. And for some people, it feels like this huge honor, right? Like she asked me to be a bridesmaid. That's somehow sort of like a status thing. And you're really like feeling like you're let into some sort of club and you really want to show up with everything you've got and do all the things and participate perfectly. And some of this can be just sort of hierarchy of social networks. Some of this can be age, right? Maybe it's really exciting when it's like your first time. And then as you've been in like 10 weddings, you're like, it doesn't feel like such an honor. It feels more like a burden. And so then, right, in another person's experience, they're feeling like them being in your wedding party is not exactly a huge honor, but it's more like they're doing you a favor, right? They are going to be showing up with a lot of time and enthusiasm, putting forth a lot of effort to show up places and to buy things and to bring things and to plan things, to have lots of extra FaceTime or conversations about a wedding. Like, they think they're doing you a favor. So you can sort of just feel for what I'm going for. There just tends to be this like, am I doing you a favor? Or are you doing me a favor? And when we both are on different sides of that, that can drive a lot of sort of these miscommunications or missteps or hurt feelings or mismatched expectations can often be traced back to just that idea of like, hold on, I thought you were like really excited to do this. So why are you acting in this way? And it's like, hold on, I thought like I was doing you a favor by like showing up and doing all this extra stuff for you. So like, why are you being hard on me when I can't do this part? And again, it can be hard to predict. You might think it's going to feel like an honor and not have any idea that it's going to feel like a burden. So again, just use this filter, run these things through your brain. Like, okay, does one of my friends have a toddler? And so that leaving town, it could feel like a huge burden to her, or it could feel like a huge, exciting gift to have an excuse to leave town. You often don't know until you ask and find out. Don't assume it, right? Someone who just got a new job, you might be thinking like, whoo, they have this huge increase in salary, so they'd love to go and spend it on a trip to Cancun. Whoops, but you're not thinking they haven't accrued any leave yet. So their new job comes with a ton of responsibility and they've got to be there, and leaving and going out of town is like something they can't do. So again, I don't think anybody's wrong in their view of this stuff, but it can get so nuanced and so easy to lose the plot. And we often stay stuck in our own stories of like, but I invited her to be a bridesmaid. She should be so excited to do all this stuff. That can just be your default operating principle. And I'm just saying, like, let's like shake up a little. Let's loosen up from that one narrative and just realize that like everyone's got a lot going on. The wedding, our wedding doesn't like stop the stuff that's going on in other people's lives. And as much as you can, as the bride, as the leadership energy, as the one, as the protagonist in all of this, the main character, you gotta really think about how you can set the tone, how you can open the lines of communication, how you can make it easy and fun and joyful for your friends to join you while still asking for the support that you really need. And being really vulnerable with them is the key. I do see sometimes people put out like, they're like, yeah, I don't want anyone confused about the expectations. So I'm going to put like a 9-point plan. And if you can't rise to the occasion, see yourself out. I think that's sort of going, again, I love the idea of transparency and putting forth the expectations, but now we're getting a little like too type A. And if a person can't like meet the checklist, then they're out. That seems to have lost the point to me, because aren't we having people in this group who we trust to protect us energetically? We want to surround us because they are good at holding our pain, or they are good at amplifying our joy and our excitement. So again, don't lose the forest for the trees. Don't throw out the baby with the bathwater. Think about what's the experience you want to have and who do you want to be there with you? And then what are the things you can do to make that work for your budget, for their budget, for your timeline, for their timeline, for your energy, for their energy, for the bandwidth of everybody involved. Just think about how to meet your people where they are. Put the relationship first, put people first, and put the events and the expectations and the pictures and just the whole narrative, put that second. Let that be born from the real life situation of your real life people. And I think you'll just have so much less bridesmaid drama. Hopefully this was helpful to you. I would love your feedback. So much goes on, and it's just one of the biggest areas that I end up helping my brides with. If you are having trouble with this or any other area of wedding planning, do not hesitate to reach out. I am here for you. Book your bridal session with me today at KaraMaureen.com, and I will see you out on socials. Kara, the bridal coach. Love answering your questions, so don't hesitate to submit. And until next time, I'm wishing you nothing but bridal bliss.